Hey everyone, welcome back to Shapr3D. So today we're going to be working on a really interesting video. First of all, let me show you this video right here. I had lots of fun with. Lots of fun. One of my favorite videos. And I got probably out of all my videos the most grief about this video because at the time I was still kind of learning how to make tutorials and I had to slow down because I was going way too fast. So today we're going to be actually working on that video and I'm here in my office. So we're going to be actually 3D printing what we draw so you guys can see a live result of our project. So let's get right into it. All right guys, let's get comfortable here. And I usually design on my iPad because I prefer this over PC. So, and the way I do it is I just hold it in my hand and design here. Either standing up or sitting down, doesn't matter, it's still the same for me. But basically, let's get right into it and start off by the front face. And I want to just make sure by drawing a line here to get the right size. So this is 20 millimeters. Let's go ahead and make a rectangle. Make sure it's on center and make a 20 millimeter square and a 10 millimeter square because this is going to be the base of our project. Go to line and just draw one down the center. We're going to use that as our axis for the revolutions and also splitting our body, so that we don't have any interference. I also want to make sure I lock everything into place and make sure I turn screen record on because I want you guys to see what I'm doing. Okay, and then let me turn microphone on. Cool. All right, so once we're here, we've locked everything into place. I want to draw a line here at 3.2 millimeters because that's just what I think is a good height. And I need a 45-degree line, but because that little dot right there is off the grid, it's hard to discern what's 45 degrees unless I move it manually, right? So what I can do is either draw on the grid here and move it into place, or I can go to, we'll select that line, exit sketch mode, go to the move tool, and then select that edge there, click copy, make sure that line is selected, and then 45 degrees that way. And then I can also go down here, deselect that. We'll select it again, exit sketch mode again, and do it this way. So there's multiple ways of doing this, but just FYI. So 45 degrees that way as well. What I typically do to save time is just sketch a line, like I said, over here, and then over here, and then just double click and move it into place. Just so there's multiple ways of doing it, but just FYI, make sure you guys know how to do multiple options. So I trim those edges, that way they're not in the way. And I'm going to do an offset loop, and I usually want to go inside first because I want that specific triangle, not the outside portion. And then I go out by 0.2, which is the tolerance, which is best for my 3D printer, which I have a Prusa i3 MK3S Plus, which I use for this kind of stuff. And so basically, if your printer prints it so tight that you can't screw it in, you need to go up on tolerance, so basically 0.3 or 0.4. If it's too loose, you need to go down, so 0.1 or 0.05. All right, so once we have that, we basically can now, well, first of all, I want to go ahead and select this sketch and then double click the triangle and then exit sketch to auto select the move tool, as you can see here, and then copy. And we're going to move up by 3.2 here. And this one is not necessary, but I'm just using it as a reference here, although technically I don't need it. But then the second one, we're going to go up by 6.4. And that's the one we really need because that's the twist that I'm going to have here. So basically, we go to Tools, Revolve, select our sketch, and then make sure you get both of these triangles. And this is going to be our thread portion, okay? So we use the center axis, and we go up by 6.4 millimeters. And if you got it wrong, just type it in here. And as you can see, it matches up perfectly with the sketch, which is what we need, and then click done. And typically, you could technically keep revolving it to make it as one piece, but I like to do one here, then turn off section view, do one here so I can see what I'm doing. And then it's really easy to just select it and copy it over and make a couple duplicates here. And you already know the size, so just, and keep going. If you have copy on, you can keep going. You just have to keep counting. So 6.4, and then one more at 9.6. All right, and the same thing down there. We have to go down. We had copy on still, so we can go down by 3.2. And then just type it if you can't get it, because you have to zoom in on the grid to get it there. And then 6.4. And then I think I don't need any more, but I'm going to go down one more just in case at 9.6. And you could have used the pattern tool for this as well, but I just like to do some things manually. So tools, union. It might not union considering we're just edges, but let's go give it a try. Click done. As you can see, it only unions some of them. Again, it's because it's right there on the edge, so it's not going to work in until you got the cylinder going, okay? So once we have this, what I want to do is go to items and hide that thread, and then go here and go to tools, revolve, select both of those, because if we do one at a time, it's going to do separate pieces, and then we have to union. So this, basically by selecting both of them, we skip a step. We don't have to union it because they are already as one piece here. All right, then go ahead and unhide our threads. And what I want to do now is basically go to tools, extrude, and then get that out there as a new body. Click done and extrude that out there by selecting the outer edge, and tools, subtract from my threads. Make sure it's purple, so double click that one. And then this one is the piece we want to cut away with. Click done. Then delete this piece since we don't need it anymore. We just used it as a reference. And you could have done that in the settings too, but I like to do it this way just in case if I change my mind. And then go and close the items menu. Go to tools, extrude again, because we still need to extrude one more time. Let's do 3.2. Click, we could do union, that's fine. Click done. And then we want to chamfer that. So chamfer is basically a negative here. So 3.2 in this case. You could do it smaller, bigger, whatever. It doesn't really matter because you get that 45-degree angle there. And you see that piece we cut away, these two faces there? We're actually going to replace the face. So tools, replace the face, select this one, make sure you double click that one, and then select this face and click done. And as you can see, it blended it really nicely with that. So it basically keeps going that way because it shrinks, and that makes it easier to go into the part, right? And then once we have that, we can go in and tools, union this to these two threads. Click done, and we basically have our basic thread, which we will add some finishing touches later, but for now, that's fine. Okay, so once we have this thing going, we can see we have that tolerance there. And tolerance, like I said in my other video, it's just the gap. It's the thing we're going to cut away. Okay, so what we need to do is basically hide our new created body and go here. And we need to do a little bit of an edit here. So basically select that line and draw it across. And you can either trim that or select it. So we can just select it. So tools, revolve. And we're going to use the same sketch, but with an additional outer piece right there, because we do want that tolerance to revolve as well. And let's see, I actually should have edited that first. Let's go ahead and offset that as a single. Offset that by 0.2 there, and then draw a line down here because we don't want to revolve that piece as well. So then go to tools, revolve, select this outer piece, including the inner thread, and then use that center axis, and then go up by 6.4. And we're going to do the same thing as we did for the thread by copying it over a couple times. So copy, go down by 3.2, then 6.4, and then 9.6. And again, because we had to copy on, it just continued copying them versus if we double click something. So again, go up to the top, 3.2, 6.4, and 9.6. All right, so, and for this piece, what I want to do is make another body. So let's go ahead and just select all of those. And let's just put it in the folder to make it easier for us and hide it, okay? And now I want the tools, revolve. So we're using the revolve tool a lot here. And then just make it around that body. And then extrude, or we could just transform move this to get an exact number by 3.2. Click done. And then the reason for this is because I want to align this with our thread here. So, and it looks like we need one more right there. So let's make sure we copy it over by double clicking, click copy, go up by 3.2, and then tools union, all of these things, click done, and some edges probably did not connect. Oh, they did actually, because they see, unlike the other one, these edges are connected, so they did end up as one piece. Okay, then we need to go to tools, extrude, select that top, extrude that as a new body, click done, then pull that out there, and tools, subtract from this body, click done, then double click that to delete it if you can. Sometimes it starts glitching. Lately I've had this glitch where you double click and it doesn't work. That's because you need to restart the app sometimes, but sometimes it works. Click delete, and then we have this edge here again, but in this case I'm not trying to actually match the face. This is just the height I needed to have it at. So I'm gonna go ahead and restart the app. All right, I restarted the app. Now I should be able to double click without an issue. So sometimes Shapr3D has some glitches. We come across those at times. So anyways, now we have that tolerance selected there, and we want to basically move this down. So at this point, let's unhide that first body that we created with the thread already, and then move this down. Let's actually go to the front face, turn on section view. Okay, let's deselect, then turn on section view, then select that body and go down by 20 millimeters. It should be the proper height, I believe. And we also want to select this and copy and go down by 20 millimeters. All right, and now we can see that there. And we want to actually, let's actually do one thing a little bit different. Before we go to do that, let's actually close in that cylinder because it is in the way there. So let's undo that and then close this by deleting it if it would let us, and it's not letting us delete. So let's just undo our previous delete of the inside body. So actually let's keep these as one and union them together, because I just realized that if I did the thread, it would be like a loose space in there. So let's, because I'm doing this on the fly, guys, so it's not exactly what I would do when I'm doing it by myself, but when I'm teaching, you kind of get distracted as you go. But basically, let's go ahead and move this down by 20 millimeters. And let's do section view and then make a subtraction again. So tools, subtract from this body. And remember, this is the thread plus the outer tolerance. So click done, and then we basically hide this for now because we might use it as a reference later. And let's go ahead and now copy this over by 20 millimeters and watch what happens when we go down here by 20. We match the thread with the tolerance. All right, so if we go to the front face here and we look on the grid here, we have a 0.212. It's actually 0.2, but I'm off the grid there. So it's 0.2 of a tolerance. This is perfect for 3D printing. And our thread actually goes all the way up to this point right here. So as you screw it in, it stops right there. So you may want to, and I'm actually going to do that in this case. Let's undo real quick, and we want to go down by a little bit. Let's say to 18 millimeters. That may be too much. So actually, let's do 0.2 instead. So it's 20. Let's do 19.8. So by 0.2 down there, and also soften this edge. Let's do by 2 millimeters. And now once we have that, let me show you one more time. So we go down by 20, and you can see, because there's actually going to be a little bit higher than this, because when it's printing that top surface, there is a little bit of an overlay there, and that'll fit right into that gap there. And then also remember, as this is printing, there might be a little bit of sag here, so we may want to go even more depending on the print setting. So we're going to see after we print how well it's going to go in, because we do want this gap to be actually pretty secure and tight, because this is part of that structural integrity, okay? And once we have this going on, we can delete that part because we're gonna actually make a couple more edits here. So we can hide the sketch. We don't need that anymore for the moment. I wouldn't go so far as to delete it, but I would hide it for now. And now I want to just finish up this body by softening up the edges just a tad so that our thread goes in even easier. And as you can see, it's a little bit disconnected there. So we will actually have to select a couple more pieces there, but it's not a major issue. All right, and then we want something small like 0.4 millimeters, okay? And that'll help the thread go in smoothly, considering this is 3D printed. And we're also gonna try doing the internal part as well, if it lets us. Sometimes it might not, depending on your constraints, but it should be fine. So we've selected all of those. We can also select this, and let's do 0.2 just to start off. Let's do 0.4. That'll probably finish it off nicely. And this should be a pretty good 3D printable thread. All right, and then from this point, I also do want to chamfer that edge just a tad, like 0.4. Remember that negative means a chamfer. And this as well, so 0.4 on this end. And this should give it a nice look on those threaded pieces. And this is pretty much it. I'm not sure if we need to add anything else just for this project alone. Let's go ahead and change the color. Something like metal. It's a polished aluminum just for the heck of it. And then we go back to modeling. And I like this gray color. It's much easier to work with on the eyes than it is. So what we can do now is basically, as I said, this is going to be a continuous loop. So we go down by 20 and we go up by 20. And we can keep going, and we can do a cap for this project as well, very simply. Okay, so what you can do is basically select one, copy, go up by 20, and then simply tools, split body, select this body, select that face, click done, and then delete that top and delete that body line, and you have a cap for your project. So we're actually going to print a couple of these just to make sure we have a nice solution. And the same thing here, if you want to make an end cap for the bottom, you click copy, you go down to 20, and then you can make this height whatever you want. So basically, if we go to the front plane, just because I like the front plane, and let's say we want our cap to end about 5, let's make it, 5 millimeters is fine. And we can simply do this and draw a big shape here. Doesn't really matter what shape as long as it's like so. And then I like to just move it out of the way by using the move tool and then simply swipe through. This is probably the easiest way. And the interesting thing is, if you see all those pieces in there, they're really easy to get rid of. Because if you did the replace face tool, the iPad would be thinking for quite a while, which I don't like. So I use the fastest method, even though it might not sound like the most smartest method, but this is actually a good way to get it done. And like I said, this is continuous. You can keep going as far as you want, make a lightsaber for all I care, but this is to get you going on 3D printable threads. This is the basics of it, and I hope you guys learned a lot from this specific project. So we're gonna go ahead and 3D print this, and we'll get into the discussion after we get it done, okay? So I know she doesn't look like much, but this is actually a beast of a computer. It was custom built by my cousin. Don't worry, baby, you're beautiful. Then I have this handy SD card for my 3D printer. So if I could do this with one hand. Yeah. There we go. And then we go ahead and open up our project. I just had to update my app. And here we have it in all its glory. So basically we're gonna print 3 parts. We're gonna print the bottom part, top part, and one of these. And I could just export this as one. So let's go ahead and click share and export project. I want to do it as a 3D model, and Prusa Slicer actually accepts step files, so I prefer to do that. And then everything else is perfect here. Click export, and then save as 3D printed threads. That's fine. Click done. Wait for it to finish loading, and I'm going to put it into my slicer. All right, then we're going to open Prusa Slicer, and then here I have the old version because I prefer not to update right away if I don't have to. Let's go ahead and find our 3D printed threads there and load it in. Obviously, we're gonna have to split it as object, and then I auto orient it so I can choose what I want. And basically, I don't need that one, and I don't need that one. And then I also, as you can see, it has sometimes comes up with errors. One open edge, it might be a reversed edge. Sometimes that happens, so I just click that to fix it inside the slicer. But just FYI, if you use step files instead of STLs, you do get a slightly higher quality. All right, let's auto orient that one more time, and then we're gonna go ahead and 3D print them. So I have 0.3 draft on, that's really good for threads. Infill 20% is fine, don't need a brim for these parts. Nothing really special to print this. So let's go ahead and slice it. And this is gonna take 46 minutes. So this is gonna be pretty quick. I'll go watch a movie or something. So basically, if you can see here, that's your basic 3D printed threads. And we'll see how well they work once we have them off the printer. Okay, let's go ahead and export the G code. Click the card because the card's already in there. Click save, and then simply export the card. I just take it out here and take it back to my printer. I really like to preheat my printer bed before I print. Don't mind all these little boogers here. They come off the print, so before I throw them all away, see I have a little pile here, and I throw them all away at once. But basically, I then put in the card, and I go down to the file I need, and I simply heat it up. And I do have these nifty little heat sinks on my printer motors because I think it's going to help it last longer. But for starting, I would just want to mention that before every print, what I like to do is get a white napkin and use alcohol to make sure the bed is clean. I do that before every print. And also, it's going to extrude a little bit of filament there. I take that off. Then as it's going, I also wipe it off. That way that first booger that comes out, it doesn't get stuck to my first layer, because guess what? Your first layer is very important for looks. So you need to actually be aware of that and make sure your printer prints functionally just like you want it to. Starting the first layer there, as you can see. And if you're wondering, no, I did not add supports because that print will bridge like a miracle on these kind of printers. So we'll get back to you in about 48 minutes or 45. Okay, see you soon. So our 3D print is done. I'm just about ready to take it off the bed as soon as it cools off, and I'll get back to it to show you guys exactly how it works. So I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but so it is a flex plate, so it probably did it. So cool, look. Perfect prints. The inside is not too bad. It is bridged, so it's there. But let's go ahead and test these out. So here we are at my work table, and this is my first time putting in this thread, and I'm pretty certain it should work. But maybe it won't. Oh, I made reverse threads. Look at that. I'm trying to put it in the right way, but I accidentally made reverse threads. So there's to that. The thread actually goes in really easily. I was like, what the heck is going on? So yeah, if you're wondering why it's not going in, it's because I made them reverse threads. So yeah, disclaimer, if you're making threads for yourself, make sure you do a negative revolve so that it actually goes the right way, instead of me trying to screw it in and it keeps dropping. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Just make sure you do a negative revolve on that. And also, as you can see here, once it's screwed in even all the way, there is a slight gap. That means we needed to make more tolerance there on the inside of this part, if we can look in there, because that sag from the bridging did use more space than I had anticipated. So make sure you do leave a larger gap. Remember, we left 0.2, so maybe leave like 0.4 or 0.6, depending on your printer. So this is basically it. Yeah, hope you guys like it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And actually, the reason I wanted to make this video right now today is because the next project I have coming up, and I'm gonna make a video on, is I'm gonna use this same exact process, but on my dice tower project. So basically, if you guys remember, the first ever videos I posted were some dice tower projects that I had started 3D designing with, and I came up with a couple solutions to that problem. And I think right now I have an idea in mind that I really want to get to make a tower that can basically be as tall as you want. So I have a lot of interesting thoughts on that one, and that's coming up soon. And let me know what you think about the long format videos. This is my first time ever getting out there. I'm a complete introvert, so this is new for me. But Tell me how you like it, and if you prefer the short, just screen records. Let's see what happens, okay? I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Here at Shapr3D, our goal is to inspire and empower you to create your own amazing projects. Please support our work so that we can keep doing it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to see more.